They say trust is earned, but I learned it can be bought, sold, and weaponized against you. Looking back, I should have known something was wrong when Angela started coming home from her divorce consultation meetings looking happier than she had in months. We'd been married 15 years, and yes, things had gotten rocky, but I never imagined the depths of her deception. It started innocently enough. We'd agreed to try separation before diving into divorce proceedings. Angela said she wanted to consult with an attorney to understand her options. Fair enough. I supported the idea of getting professional guidance before making any permanent decisions. She chose Harrison Mitchell from Mitchell & Associates, supposedly one of the best family law attorneys in the city. I'd heard good things about him through mutual friends. Successful track record, fair reputation, expensive but worth it. What I didn't know was that Angela had been researching him for months, not for his legal expertise but for entirely different reasons. The first red flag should have been when Angela started dressing differently for these consultations. New clothes, expensive perfume, hair appointments before every meeting. She claimed she wanted to present herself professionally, make a good impression. I bought it completely. Their meetings became more frequent. What started as weekly consultations turned into twice-weekly sessions, then almost daily phone calls. Angela would step outside to take these calls, claiming attorney-client privilege meant she couldn't discuss details around me. Again, it seemed reasonable at the time. I noticed changes in Angela's behavior beyond just her appearance. She became secretive about her phone, taking it everywhere, even to the bathroom. She started working late more often, claiming her boss had increased her workload. Weekend errands took hours longer than they should have. Classic signs I completely missed. The breakthrough came 3 months into this charade. I'd forgotten my laptop at home and came back during lunch to grab it. As I approached our house, I saw Harrison's distinctive black BMW in our driveway. This seemed odd since Angela had told me that morning she'd be in back-to-back meetings at work all day. I parked down the street and called Angela's office. Her assistant informed me that Angela had taken a personal day. The pieces started falling into place with sickening clarity. Instead of confronting them immediately, I decided to gather evidence. If my marriage was ending, I wanted to understand exactly what I was dealing with. I spent the next week setting up a small recording device in our home office, where Angela often took her legal calls. The recordings I captured over the following days completely shattered my world. These weren't legal consultations, they were intimate conversations between lovers planning my financial destruction. I listened to Angela and Harrison discussing strategies to hide assets, manipulate custody arrangements, and paint me as an unfit husband and father. The most chilling recording captured them laughing about how easy it had been to fool me. Angela joked about how I'd actually encouraged her to work with Harrison, unknowingly funding my own betrayal through the retainer fees I'd helped her pay. But their biggest mistake was discussing their long-term plans. They'd been having an affair for over 8 months, starting well before any talk of divorce. Harrison had been feeding Angela legal strategies to create a paper trail that would support her eventual divorce filing. They'd manufactured evidence of my supposed emotional unavailability and financial irresponsibility. The recording that sealed their fate captured Harrison explaining how he'd manipulated preliminary court filings to make me appear unstable. He bragged about having connections with court clerks who would ensure favorable scheduling for Angela's case. This wasn't just adultery, it was legal corruption at its worst. Armed with hours of recorded evidence, I made my countermove. Instead of hiring my own attorney immediately, I researched Harrison's professional background thoroughly. I discovered he'd had several complaints filed against him over the years for ethical violations, though none had resulted in serious sanctions. I also learned about his messy divorce 5 years earlier, where his ex-wife had accused him of similar tactics. The State Bar Association had investigated but found insufficient evidence to take action. My recordings would change that equation completely. My plan was simple but devastating. I would let their divorce strategy play out just long enough for them to commit fully to their fraudulent course of action, then expose everything simultaneously to the court, the State Bar Association, and Harrison's law firm partners. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning. Angela seemed nervous that week, but I assumed it was normal anxiety about court proceedings. Harrison had prepared her well, coaching her on presenting herself as the wronged party seeking reasonable support and custody arrangements. I attended the hearing as the responding party, representing myself temporarily while supposedly searching for legal representation. Angela's testimony followed their scripted narrative perfectly. She painted me as emotionally distant, financially controlling, and an inadequate father figure. Harrison questioned Angela with practiced sympathy, drawing out details designed to make me look terrible. He submitted financial documents that had been carefully curated to hide Angela's real income and exaggerate her needs. Everything was going according to their plan. When the judge asked if I had any response to the preliminary motions, I stood up and requested permission to present evidence that had recently come to my attention. The judge granted my request, probably expecting me to fumble through some amateur legal defense. Instead, I handed the bailiff a flash drive containing every recorded conversation between Angela and Harrison, along with documented evidence of their affair and legal conspiracy. I also submitted copies of emails I'd recovered from Angela's computer detailing their relationship timeline and strategy sessions. The courtroom fell silent as the judge reviewed the materials on his computer. Angela's face went pale as she realized what was happening. Harrison tried to maintain his composure, but I could see panic creeping into his expression. Judge Peterson called for an immediate recess to review the evidence properly. When court resumed 30 minutes later, his demeanor had completely changed. He addressed Harrison directly, asking if he cared to explain the recordings where he discussed manipulating court documents and bribing court personnel. Harrison's professional facade crumbled instantly. He stammered through a weak denial, claiming the recordings were taken out of context, but there was no context that could explain away his recorded admissions of legal malpractice and corruption. The judge immediately dismissed all of Angela's preliminary motions and ordered an investigation into Harrison's conduct. He also required both Angela and Harrison to remain in the courtroom, while court security contacted the State Bar Association and the district attorney's office. Angela finally broke down, sobbing as she realized her entire strategy had backfired spectacularly. She begged me to forgive her, claiming Harrison had manipulated her into the affair and the legal conspiracy. But the recordings told a different story, one where she was an eager and willing participant. Harrison faced immediate suspension of his law license pending a full ethics investigation. His law firm partnership was terminated within days, and criminal charges for conspiracy and fraud followed shortly after. The man who had built his career on manipulating the legal system found himself on the wrong side of justice. For Angela, the consequences extended beyond our divorce. Her employer terminated her position when news of the legal scandal became public. The custody evaluation she requested backfired completely when the court-appointed psychologist reviewed evidence of her deception and manipulation. Our divorce proceeded quickly once the truth emerged. With documented evidence of Angela's affair and conspiracy, the settlement heavily favored me. I retained primary custody of our children and most of our marital assets. Angela's dream of a profitable divorce became her financial nightmare. The State Bar Association's investigation revealed that Harrison had been running similar schemes with other clients over several years. Multiple victims came forward with their own stories of legal manipulation and professional misconduct. His law license was permanently revoked, and he faced several years in federal prison for conspiracy and fraud charges. Looking back on this experience, I realize how close I came to losing everything through their calculated deception. If I hadn't forgotten my laptop that day, if I hadn't decided to gather evidence instead of confronting them immediately, their plan might have succeeded completely. The hardest part wasn't discovering Angela's affair, it was realizing how long and carefully she'd planned my destruction. The woman I'd trusted with my life, my children, and my future had systematically worked to destroy everything we'd built together. But there's something to be said for patience and thorough preparation. Instead of reacting emotionally to their betrayal, I used their own weapons against them. Their recorded conversations became the evidence that destroyed their conspiracy and protected my family's future. Today, I have full custody of my children and a clear conscience about how everything unfolded. Angela learned that betrayal comes with consequences, and Harrison discovered that the legal system he'd manipulated for years could be turned against him just as effectively. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic confrontation, it's simply letting people face the natural consequences of their own actions. Angela and Harrison thought they were the smartest people in the room, but their arrogance became their downfall. Trust may be fragile, but truth is powerful. In the end, that made all the difference.